Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a 2015 Jeep Renegade that we'll be doing a oil pan on. So it's the 2.4 liter 4-cylinder front wheel drive. So if we climb on underneath it, and the dent and crack there in the oil pan, that's a very slow leak. Very slow leak. So we'll pop this off. It looks like the alternator bracket is part of the oil pan here, so we're going to have to loosen that belt, pull it off, clean it up, and replace with new. We'll go ahead and start and get on that. Alright, there's the crack in the oil pan there. So we'll go ahead and drain all the oil out. We're looking to pulling this guy off. Alright, so we got the oil pouring out. We got to loosen the belt. We're going to have to loosen the belt because the AC bracket bolts are part of the oil pan bolts. So in order to get to the AC bracket off, we got to get the tension off the belt. Alright, so we got the alternator belt pulled off. As you can see, the bracket on the alternator belt is part of the oil pan, holds the oil pan up. So we'll pull this little U-bracket out and then start undoing all the bolts on the oil pan, including that alternator bracket, and drop this oil pan out. So we got all the bolts out in the pan. Now we have to pull this AC compressor off because the bracket goes around the oil pan there. So we'll have to loosen that and pull it away from the pan to be able to pop the pan down. And we should be able to get the pan off. Take that back, actually. You see this bottom bolt? It's moving this whole bracket. So this 13 millimeter here, that whole bracket should be able to come off. if you can see. There it is. Alright. That bracket's off. The bolt's out. That leaves the whole pan. Oh. There are 2 more bolts underneath that bracket, so we'll pull those out, and that should leave the whole pan unobstructed, so the whole thing can come out. So we'll go ahead and pull those 2 out. Alright, that's all the bolts on the pan. So we'll have to pry this guy off, let it all drain out, and then we can clean the gasket surface up and clean the area for the new pan, put it on. Okay, so we got all the bolts out of the oil pan. Now to be able to pry the oil pan off, I remove the passenger front wheel. We're going to pull the fender liner out, mainly right here, so I can get into the oil pan with a scraper and be able to get in between there and separate the oil pan and then clean the gasket material off. So, alright, got the fender well pulled out of the way. That opens up the area where you got the belt off of the AC pulley, so I should be able to pry down on the oil pan from there and pop the oil pan off. Alright, was able to pry the oil pan off from the side there. That's what it looks like underneath. We'll have to get the silicone cleaned off the sealing area to reseal the new pan. So go ahead and let this drain, clean that off, and get the new pan prepped to put on. Alright, so we got the surface all cleaned up underneath here. I'm gonna prep the new oil pan. So do black Permatex around it. Let it set, bolt it up, let it set, and then torque it down. So we'll get it started. Alright, got the new pan all gasketed up with black RTV. We'll go ahead and slide it back on there underneath and get it bolted up back up. Alright, so it's the next day. We let the Permatex dry overnight, so it's all dry with the new oil pan. We did have a bolt strip out, so I had to go get a new bolt there in front of the oil filter. Still same grade as the other small bolts, an 8/8 zinc bolt. Just in case you're wondering, the smaller oil pan bolts are a M6 by 1.0 thread pitch. So we got that torqued up. I could not find torque specs for this vehicle, so I'm going off of experience on other oil pans I've done with the same size bolts. So smaller bolts did to about 6 foot-pounds, and the other bigger bolts did about 14 to 15 foot-pounds. So right now, letting the oil drain out of the filter, we'll put the new filter in, reconnect the AC compressor, the bolt we had to pull out of the AC compressor right there, put our belt back on, and then put the fender well and everything back in and fill it up with oil and clean up. Belt's back on. That tensioner in the upper part next to the frame rail, it's a 16 mil head on that, and basically you pull it down to loosen the tension on the belt to be able to pop the belt off, and then put the belt back on, do the same thing, reverse order. So belt's on, our AC's tight, bracket's tight, double check the torque on the oil pan. Oil pan's good. New filter in. We'll go ahead and fill it up, run it, and then check for leaks. Alright, so our wheel's back on. Get the splash guard all installed. Do one final look underneath. So this car's missing the splash guard, but everything looks good, all sealed up. Belt's back on. Double check everything. Oil filter's tight. Go ahead and fill it up with oil. Okay, so since we changed the oil, we gotta reset the oil light. So first thing to do on this car is turn ignition on. So we got daytime running light out, parking light out, and there's the oil change required. So what you're going to do is press the gas pedal down 3 times within 5 seconds. Key off. Now we'll start the car, and the oil light should be reset now. There you go. Now you only see the parking light out symbol. So we are good to go. Alright, so we had it running. Went underneath, checked for leaks, don't see any leaks. Everything seems to be good to go. This took about 5.5 quarts of oil. So hopefully this video was informative. Sorry I didn't get too much into detail. I was just trying to get it done last night. But hopefully this will help somebody out if somebody runs over something and cracks their oil pan in one of these. It's not too bad of a job. Just take some time and yeah, make sure all the oil drains out to allow that gasket to properly seat, or the Permatex rather. But again, hopefully this helps somebody out. We'll see you on the next one.